Isaiah 25:7. And he will destroy in this mountain the face of the covering cast over all people, and the veil that is spread over all nations. Luke 8:17. For nothing is secret that shall not be made manifest, neither anything hid that shall not be made known and come abroad. Call halal Yahweh Bahasham Yahushai Bahasham Rakaha Quadash. Double honors unto the apostles, double honors unto the elder bishops. Salutations to all my fellow laborers that do this work in truth and sincerity, risking their lives and their freedom to do so, now more so than ever. The would-be judges, the 144,000 of the 12,000 men from the 12 tribes of Israel, the tabernacle of David, as the Bible ordains to be the ruling class people and the judges of the earth under the authority of who the world fraudulently and falsely called JC. His name is Yahushai. And to the rest of the scattered elect that are scattered around the four corners of the earth, that be like unto the speckled bird, the Israelite foreigners among the heathen nations, that have the appearance of the heathen nations. This is not a black thing. And to the few Akwath that are listening and learning, to you, I say Shalom. This is your brother Malcolm, coming at you with another brutal lesson in truth. And I'm going to profile Apostle Elder Tahar's video, and the beloved, my fellow prophet, man of the Lord, ICR. And they all line up with the third video that I'm going to play from George the Vanguard, speaking on the subject matter that I've never heard anyone on the internet say before I did. All right, you know, I'm not saying that no one else spoke on it, but I never heard anyone else. I never seen it, never heard on it before I spoke on it. That's two subjects that I've been focusing on for like the last 5-6 years. When whiteness was created, and when Europe was created. And this guy is going to tell you, solidify, that Europe is made up. Europe sits in Asia. Europe is a manifestation of Edomite lies to hide the Edomite heritage. Same as white. So without any further ado, all that Edomiteness and Europeanness is coming to an end, right along with the tiny tops, who are the head of this thing. So we're going to start with Apostle Elder Tahar. And in this video, you can see the title of the video. This is from what is this? What is the 66 Mark II GMS Truth? All right, I think they're going to make this thing happen starting in 2026, and I believe that as well because I got the notification to get the ID. I got the thing in the mail, how I can mail it in to get this new ID, okay? Which everything that's on this ID, they already have it. All right, they already have all that stuff. I mean, outside of some people's fingerprints and some people's eye retina. But if you've ever served in the military, they have your fingerprints. If you've ever been arrested, they have your fingerprints. And there's certain jobs, if you have those jobs, if you have certain security jobs, they have your fingerprints. If you've been a cop or anything like that, they have your fingerprints. And they already know your digital imprint. They know everything. All right. The goal is to get to the MOTB, and all roads lead there. So without any further ado, Elder Apostle Tahar.
GMS has a very clear, consistent interpretation of Matthew 24:22, and it connects directly to their doctrine about the last days, Esau's rulership, and the elect of Israel. Right, because it mentions the word elect.
Which is the Bible's doctrine.
Matthew 24, verse 22, and except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved, but for the elect's sake those days shall be shortened. GMS interpretation of Matthew 24:22. Those days, the final period of Esau Edom's rulership. GMS teaches that those days refer to the end of this current world system ruled by Esau, white European power structure,
which is made up, the white European part. They are the Edomites, and they've been hiding that from the world, and now it's out.
Culminating in World War III, nuclear destruction, the MOTB system, RFID chip, extreme global chaos, which is the time of Jacob's trouble. What the hell is going on here? Okay. They view this period as so destructive that humanity could literally go extinct if God didn't intervene. Shorten Yahushua returning earlier than the destruction would otherwise allow. GMS believes the Most High is speeding up the collapse of this society. Like I said, their plan, their ultimate plan, their goal is Agenda 2030. So the elect can be delivered before complete annihilation. But the chip is going to come before the destruction. They commonly teach days are going to be faster. Prophecy and everything's moving fast. Prophecy is unfolding quicker. Knowledge shall increase. World events are escalating. And all of this, in their view, fulfills those days shall be shortened. Because the technology is here. They don't need to put the technology is here. People in Sweden, it's anywhere from 10,000 to 50,000 that have the chip that use it every day. Over there they call the NFC, near field communication. Over here they call the RFID, radio frequency ID. No flesh would be saved. Nuclear destruction would kill everyone. GMS applies this to the coming thermonuclear war and Revelation 17, Revelation 18, 2 Peter 3. Their reasoning, without divine intervention, the nuclear exchange of World War III would wipe out all life, because the Most High is going to concentrate those missiles. He's going to be in the missiles. That's Ezekiel 38, if I'm not mistaken. Ezekiel 38, I believe it's the 17th verse. Therefore, Yahushua must return in the midst of the destruction. But for the elect's sake, the 144,000 and the 1/3 remnant of Israel. And if you have any questions about GMS, all you got to do is go to the chat. Most of the time, they give you break it down the exact way we break it down. The elect equals Israel only, or Israel only among the elect. Among the Israel are the elect, primarily the 144,000 prophets, plus the great multitude, 1/3 of Israel, not any spiritual or universal group.
Right, and that 1/3 is spoken of in Revelation, the 7th chapter. All right, you have the body of the 144,000, which are the Lord's army. Then you have the rest of the elect of men, women, and children, mostly women and children. Okay, that are scattered abroad throughout the nations among the heathen that look like the heathen. That's that great multitude that John couldn't identify because they're scattered. Okay, if you've been scattered among the Japanese, the Chinese, the Filipinos, the so-called white man, all these other nations, you're going to look like them. And the Lord's going to gather his elect up that are scattered from among those people. It's as simple as that. They're already determined to be predestinated to be the elect.
Yeah, it's an actual literal group of people. This excludes all other nations according to GMS teaching.
No, according to the Bible, Chat GPT.
Hang with me, almost done. The verse supports the doctrine that the elect will be delivered before full destruction. GMS uses this verse to solidify the idea that the elect will be delivered via the chariot, UFOs. Good job, chat. Before nuclear fire completely wipes out America, Babylon. They're on point.
Man, Judith 16:17. Woe to the nations that rise up against my kindred. The Lord Almighty will take vengeance on them in the day of judgment, putting fire and worms in their flesh, and they shall fill them and weep forever, meaning a very long time. Okay, so let's on to the next video. To the beloved brother ICR, one of my contemporaries. This one. And you see the name and title of his video at the bottom of the screen. All right, the clash before the fall, MAGA divided over tiny top first politics. And I'm starting at about the 4-minute mark.
So this is 2 Ezra chapter 6 and verse 27. And it reads, it says, for evil shall be put out, and deceit shall be quenched. As for faith, it shall flourish. Corruption shall be overcome, and the truth, which have been so long without fruit, shall be declared. And the truth is being declared. No matter what these devils do, all right, they got these sellouts, you know, the pastors, and they're trying to infiltrate the church and, you know, forward that propaganda, but it's not working. Okay, the world is waking up to the lies, man. All right, they're losing the narrative. As we've been,
yeah, they're totally losing the narrative. And I just want to add too, I've noticed, you know, Starbucks is owned by Tiny Tops, and I've noticed in Chicago the Starbucks are shutting down all over the city. I keep seeing closed Starbucks. Places where Starbucks used to be are closing because of the lack of support. People are canceling them.
I'm telling you, right? Deuteronomy 33. All right, Deuteronomy chapter 33 and verse 29, it says, happy art thou, O Israel, who is like unto thee, O people saved by the Lord, Yahweh Shem Yahushai, the shield of thy help, and who is the sword of thy excellency. And thy enemies shall be found liars unto thee, and thou shalt tread upon their high places, right? So again, let's go here. Our enemies are being found as liars, okay? And now, as I said, the world is starting to stand up. This is how you know this, hey, this thing is going to go down. All right? So real quick here before I get to my main part of this lesson here. This is from telegraph.co.uk. It says, all the ways Israel is being canceled. Right? All the ways Israel is being canceled.
Hallelujah.
It says, from Eurovision boycotts to UN walkouts, the Jewish state is facing backlash in every area of public life since October 7th. See? Now, I got the article here summarized as a long article, so we'll just hit the points here. Okay? So it's a summary of Israel boycotts and cancellations since October 7th. It says the provided text details the widespread backlash, boycotts, and attempts to, quote, cancel Israel across various sectors of public life following the Hamas attack on October 7, 2023, and the subsequent war in Gaza. All right, so we'll just hit the points. So going down here, it says international organizations in general backlash. It says Eurovision, multiple countries, Spain, Ireland, Netherlands, considered boycotting the Eurovision Song Contest due to Israel's inclusion. All right, they don't even want them there. It says Guinness World Records. Let's go down. It says United Nations UN delegates staged a mass walkout during Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu address in September. UN Watch analysis showed the General Assembly condemned Israel in 174 resolutions since 2015 compared to 10 for Iran. Okay, it says academia, BDS campaign, the boycott, divestment, sanctions campaign intensified with European universities in Belgium, the Netherlands, Italy, and Spain increasingly voting to suspend agreements with Israeli institutions, right? It says instances of boycott. An association of Israeli universities task force recorded 300 instances of boycotts in the year after October 7th, which more than doubled to 700 a year later. This includes boycotts against individual researchers and institutions, right? Academic groups, the UN-founded International Sociological Association suspended the membership of Israeli public institutions, right? So what's happening? Okay,
Bravo.
nations are cutting ties. Okay, and they're isolating both Israel and America, right? The Lord says you would be greatly despised. Obadiah 1:1, it says, this is the vision of the sovereign Lord, Yahweh Shem Yahushai, revealed to Obadiah concerning the land of Edom. We have heard a message from the Lord, Yahweh Shem Yahushai. This is an NLT, right? Obadiah 1:1. It says, we have heard a message from the Lord, Yahweh Shem Yahushai, that an ambassador was sent to the nations to say, get ready, everyone. Let's assemble our armies and attack Edom. Okay? and this is the spirit, the vibration that's in the earth now. Nations are ready for war against Esau, Edom. Okay? Verse 2, the point, the Lord, Yahweh Shem Yahushai says to Edom, I will cut you down to size among the nations. You will be greatly despised. Okay, so this is what we're reading here in this article. Okay, the tiny tops are being canceled, man. People don't want to have anything to do with them. And as we saw the video in the beginning, all right, they got the sellout pastors. All right, they're trying to keep that narrative going of these people being the true biblical Israelites. It is not working.
Yeah, because right there, they're at the wall of what's left of Fort Antonia, because the temple, that wasn't the Lord's temple. That wasn't the temple of Solomon at all. That's what's left of Fort Antonia, a Roman fort. All right, and that's deeply rooted in Judaism, not the Bible. And it's supposed to be some female demonic spirit that lives in there, and that's why they copulate, why they hump the wall, dry hump the wall like they're having sex with a wall. That is not biblical. That's very demonic. These are not the people, and they're being found out. Okay. Last video by George the Vanguard. All right. And this dude is pretty interesting because he goes hard against the so-called white man, almost as hard as I do. Okay. Exposing their lies. But this particular subject, Europeans made up Europe. Well, so-called white people made up whiteness. Everything about them is a lie.
Made up Europe. Not metaphorically, not symbolically.
But actually,
I mean, they literally invented the idea of Europe to make themselves feel like they were something, anything other
than Edomites. That's why they call themselves white. Before he goes any further, let me just give you a receipt. For anyone who might be new, who's watching. Well, that's ludicrous. I can't believe this is actually ridiculous. This guy's just full of hate. No, I am. But that's beside, that has nothing to do with whether if I'm speaking the truth or not. I'm actually speaking the truth. All right. When the people has gone through what my people have gone through, when you're experiencing the constant oppression and suppression that we're experiencing, how else are we supposed to feel? And there it is. And here's by your own definition, Oxford Dictionary 1850. All right, Eurasian. Go straight to number one definition. of or pertaining to Eurasia, to Europe and Asia, considered as forming in reality one continent. So there's only 6 continents, not 7. Europe is not a continent. Europe is a part of Asia. The Middle East is a part of Asia. Europe and the Middle East are Western Asia. You know, you have the Far East, where you got the Far West in Asia. All right, and you fraudulently and falsely call it the Middle East and Europe to try to create the narrative of something called whiteness, which is completely and totally made the fuck up.
Then the broke, dirty, infighting mess that they actually were. There is no ancient Europe.
Still are.
There is no timeless, unified European identity. There is only a cobbled together category created by warlords, priests, and colonizers who needed a team to play on after centuries of stabbing each other in the face. The Greeks didn't think they were European. They thought everyone who wasn't Greek was a barbarian, including other Greeks.
The actual Greeks and Etruscans were melanated people, swarthy people, dark-complected people. All right, Esau, Edom took over that part of Asia, and as you can see, renamed it Europe. Later on, during the Renaissance.
Who lived differently. The Romans didn't call themselves European. They were Roman.
Also melanated
Period.
people.
They looked at Northern Europe like it was the end of the earth, full of savages, too stupid to even build roads. The people they called Gauls.
And that's true, because when you look at, who the true Romans and Etruscans were, they were cannibals. You watch them, what was that movie that's out now, The Warlords, or Chief of War, with Jason Momoa, about the warring, you see that Roman type headdress that the Samoans and the Hawaiians wore. All right. And they would war with each other, and they would literally eat their victims. They would eat, if they defeated you in battle, they would consume you, thinking that they were consuming your power. So they were. What he's saying is that was true about them. They were some wicked, crazy, violent people.
Goths, Celts, Franks, Saxons, Slavs. None of them thought of themselves as part of some unified continent. They didn't even speak the same languages. They didn't have one religion. They didn't share values. Most of them couldn't even read the same calendar. So where did Europe come from? From the wreckage after Rome fell, after the plagues, after the Crusades.
And how did Rome fall? Rome fell at the hand of Israelites, so-called Negroes, entering into the Dark Ages in medieval time. And we already showed you too many receipts when they were ruling a part of Asia that you call Europe during the Dark Ages, during the Middle Ages. So all these movies and television shows that you keep putting out, showing all these white people in positions of power and running everything, controlling everything during the Dark Ages, during the medieval times, is a complete, total lie. So-called white people came back into power, all right, during the Renaissance, fulfilling scripture. That dragon that was wounded, but yet lived. All right. You were the cavemen and cave dwellers at that time, the wild men.
After they realized the Islamic world was reading Aristotle and bathing daily while they were still bleeding people to cure fevers, then they started reaching. They needed a myth. They needed a team. They needed an us. So they invented Europe. They drew a border around whiteness, called it a continent, and used it to justify the next 1,000 years of theft.
And he's right. They drew a border. I have a map of Asia right here. Okay, the one I just shook, and it shows you the Middle East, so-called Middle East, is directly a part of Asia, and then they have Europe carved out in yellow, as if it's separate, and it's not. It's one gigantic landmass. The so-called Middle East and Europe, and I'll say it again, are both Western Asia. All right, and Asia is spoken of throughout Asia in the Bible many a times. Europe is not spoken once because it did not exist.
They made it up to say we're civilized. They're not. We're modern. They're backward. We're European. And that means something, but it doesn't. It never did. European is not a cultural identity. It's a political scam. It's
Yep.
what let France and Spain pretend they were allies after centuries of war. It's what let England act like the colonizer of India was somehow the cousin of the Viking from Norway. It's
And evidence of that is that when they came here to the Americas, you had the Louisiana Purchase, and you had battles, between the different factions here, over, between the French, the Spanish, and the Brits, right here in America. They were never one united front, except in the fact that they were all trying to claim that they were all of Israelite heritage, that they were the people of the Lord, and hiding from their Edomite heritage. Okay?
lets modern fascists pretend Poland and Germany are on the same side of history. But behind the myth, it's always been chaos. Every country trying to outbreed, outcolonize, outgun the next. Empires collapsing every 100 years. Languages dying by the week.
Tim Wise have said that if you watch his videos about the creation of whiteness, there was no such thing as whiteness. He talks about that all the time, how they want some big happy family over there in Western Asia, not that they now call Europe. They were over there warring with each other. All right, and that's exactly what they were doing until they decided, you know what, let's just warn all these brown people. Let's go, which is just biblical prophecy being fulfilled, because the Israelites came here to the Western Hemisphere and they were well aware of it. And then they came over here after the Northern Kingdom because they knew that the place that place where never mankind had dwelt, which was America, the West. All right. The West was not talked about in the Old Testament for the most part. Because man never lived there. There were no people living over here. It was a gigantic land mass. It was like a paradise. Clean water, clean, righteous foods, good soil, and with gold and all kind of resources in the ground. They were well aware of that. All right. Solomon's Navy. You can go to in the Book of Kings. His servant, Hiram, would come to the America. He went on a trip to the Americas. He went on a trip that took 3 years. It took a year and a half to go and a year and a half to come back. So every 3+ years, he would come back with the gold of Uphaz, and with fruits and animals that only grow and that only live and thrive in the Western Hemisphere. So we know he was coming to America. All right. And they were aware that the 10 tribes had come this way. Then they tried to doctor up and remove portions of the Bible that proved that. All that can be connected to this whole made-up European doctrine, this made-up white doctrine. You can ravel it all together because they were trying to cover their tracks. All right, they were trying to cover the trail that leads to the fact that so-called white people are Edom.
Whole populations being renamed, relocated, and rewritten. And they had to make it up because they couldn't explain how the supposed birthplace of civilization had no soap, no math, no paper, no spices, no medicine, no compass, no basic hygiene, and no astronomy.
Get 'em.
Until someone else brought it to them. So they called themselves Europeans, so they could steal Africa and call it a discovery, so they could invade Asia and call it exploration.
And see, they were in Asia. You mean so they can go further into Asia? Europe sits in Asia. Okay? Point blank, period. And and I've already provided receipts for that. Go research some of the older videos. That's even in the titles. All right? But let me get one more scripture and we'll get ready to wrap this up. I think that will suffice. This is Deuteronomy 33:29, and it reads, Happy art thou, O Israel, who is like unto thee, O people saved by Yahweh, the shield of thy help, who is the sword of thy excellency, and thy enemies shall be found liars unto thee, and thou shalt tread upon their high places. Call halal Yahweh Bahasham Yahushai Bahasham Rakahat Wadash Kwam Yasarala Abba Babal.